Hi everybody and welcome to DC Fine Art, and today we are working with watercolor pencils. These are all from the Caran D'Ache Aquarelle or Museum Aquarelle, and we'll be doing basically just the strawberries and how I get them to look more realistic. And at the end of this video, I'm actually going to be doing something new. I'm going to be doing a still frame, just taking pictures still one, like each step one by one on how I do a strawberry. Now the leaves aren't included on this one. I should have done it, but I didn't do the leaves because the leaves are just, you know, you can make them any which way you want. I mean, a lot more, I would think that the strawberries would be the most challenging part, so I definitely wanted to make a video step by step on the strawberry itself. The leaves are going to be in here done in the speed drawing or speed painting part of it, so I will show you how I do that and go through it, but the step by step still frame is going to be of the strawberry. And when it comes to the end of this, if you like those still frames step by step, leave me a comment below if you want me to do more of those type towards the end of my video, if you guys like the step-by-step still frames, and I can try doing some of that with some of the other mediums that I do. So just let me know if you guys like that or not. But here I am working on the strawberries in the corner. I'm just adding in some of my different shades of red on this, and then I work around my seeds. Whenever it comes to the seeds, I just kind of work around those. Now the seeds I don't actually have drawn in this picture, like already drawn in. I kind of just been going to each strawberry and then working on the seeds individually. Everything that I'm doing here is just based off the reference photo, just looking at the reference photo and then looking at the different colors within the reference photo. The reference photo that I got to use for this was off of Pixabay. So any of you guys could look at Pixabay and pick up the reference photo of this. And my drawing that I drew out was just kind of freehand drawed it really quick. So my strawberries are not identical to the reference photo either. So some of them may be bigger, some of them may be smaller. I even, you know, added a couple strawberries or took a couple strawberries off, you know, because the way I had it drawn out. So mine's a little different than the reference photo. So here is the darkest portion of the strawberries where you're looking deep down into the dark. It basically looks like black. So in order to get that as dark as I do, and there I'm actually drawing in the hands freehanding them in. The darkest of the colors I use black, and then I use a reddish purple. And so I use black, then I go over the top of it with a reddish purple. I go ahead and use my I was using a water brush to start out with on this, and come to find out it was so much easier and so much better just using an actual watercolor brush. So I used it for the remaining of this picture, just using my watercolor brush on it. And I made sure to not use a whole lot of water, like on my watercolor brush. Like I would dip it in the water, wipe it off to make sure it's dried off of all the excess water that's on it, and then use what's left over in order to blend some of these colors, because I didn't want it to go everywhere or to take the pigment completely off. So after I did the one layer where I had the reddish purple and the black for the darkest part where it looks like it's black, I went ahead and let it dry, and then I would go back over it again the same way, and then use very little water just to kind of blend out some of the pencil strokes. And then if there was any kind of white showing through, I would go back over it again with the watercolor pencils, and then I would leave it. I wouldn't go back over it with a watercolor brush or any of that, because then it would remove the pigment. And if you guys are hearing any kind of back noise or background noise, I am actually out and about traveling again. So I'm on my travels and I'm kind of set up in a little picnic area close to like an interstate where the vehicles are driving by. It's not too noisy, but this microphone definitely picks that up. So if you guys are wondering what the background noise is, that would be it. And anyhow, now I'm going on to shading and also putting in some of my lighter layers or my lighter highlights. To start that off, whenever you're doing your strawberry and you're drawing in your seeds, I usually go in and put down a white down where I want my highlight. And even though you can't really see it too well, just take one of the pink ones. I think I forgot what it was. It's a really hard name. I actually have it listed, the colors, whenever we do the step-by-step, but it's like the pink color that I use on it. And just go around where the white is, so that way you kind of know that the inside part of the pink is where your highlight's at, your white highlight, just in case you can't see where you put your white at, because that can be an issue. You're like, where did I put my white? If you can't see it, white on white. That's how I usually do it. I usually go around the white with a pink, and then I'll blend it out. That way it makes it a little bit more easier, and the white kind of stands out better whenever you do your second layer over the top of it to be able to see that white. Here I'm moving into some of the darks, kind of moving into it's kind of a strawberry that's sitting back in the back, so it's more darker, but then you have a little bit of a lightness to it. And so I'm just kind of gradually working my way up with layers. Now here is going to be me working on the big strawberry, so that way you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. But I think on this one here, I'm going to go ahead and outline some of the leaf area too with the dark. So that's going to be my black and my purplish red for the background. But I will be working on this bigger strawberry, so that way you guys can kind of see it a little better on how I work the strawberry. The first layer always looks so like washed out, doesn't look that good, but whenever you start adding another layer on top of it, making sure not to have too much water on your brush when you go over it, it actually deepens it, darkens it, and it gets rid of that washed out look. Which I know watercolor is supposed to be light and kind of watered down look to it anyway, but whenever I use these watercolor pencils from Caran D'Ache, they're the Museum Aquarelle, they're really, really pigmented. They're more pigmented than some of the other watercolor pencils. So therefore you're getting more of a vibrance look, I guess you could say, to your painting. It's not as washed out. It has a lot of pigment in it. So you're gonna get a different look than just the typical watercolor light washed out look. So here I'm kind of adding in all my little seeds everywhere. Some of these seeds I decided to go ahead and go around them a little bit with a darker red. Actually my darkest red would be my scarlet red. So now after going over some of these seeds, I will go back in and start adding some of the lighter colors to it. Actually, there's the white for the highlight. And even though you can't really see it too well, I'll go ahead and take some other lighter colors like a pink, and I'll kind of go around the area to where I want the highlight. Here I'm kind of branching away from the highlight with a lighter color. There's my white, and I'll come in there, kind of add it to some of the areas that I want it at. And I know I'm hopping all over the place with this one. Here's my green seeds, and I put them in here and there. And I'm using a green for it because in the picture on the reference photo, it had a lot of them that had the green seeds, or some that had more of the yellowish seeds. In this case, it had more of the greenish color to it. So I went ahead and added those in, added some more white highlights. And I know whenever you're working on something that's so much bigger, like this strawberry is so much bigger than all the other ones, it gives you so much room to just kind of hop around. And that's definitely what I was doing with the strawberry. You just start hopping around and you cover as much as you can in different areas. Which I noticed that a lot of my paintings, some of them I do kind of hop around. So I was really hoping the stills at the end with the instructions might actually be a little bit more step by step instead of jumping around so much. Now on this side of the strawberry, I made it a little bit darker, at least toward the top, and the area around the leaves will be a little bit darker. This strawberry piece also, it wasn't a very quick piece to do. It actually took a lot of time. It's still taking a lot of time to do. There's a lot of work that goes into this piece. So, and especially with as many strawberries as I decided to do in this one, the finished piece of this strawberry will not be on this video. So I will be able to show you a clip of where I have or what I have left over on it. But the finished piece will it will be posted on my Facebook and MeWe page, which is also listed in the description below. So if any of you guys are interested in liking any of my pages, or at least the pages on MeWe or Facebook, then you'll be able to see the finished piece when I get it done. And if it's done by I don't think it'll be done next week on the next video. Next video we are going to be, and it's kind of a spoiler alert, oh boy, I was going to go ahead and work on another strawberry. Instead of having multiple strawberries working in watercolor, I was going to go ahead and do a single strawberry kind of dipped in water. It's going to be a mixed media piece, so there's going to be an airbrush background on it, and then some acrylic's going to be used, and then the strawberry itself with the water, the majority of the water will be color pencil. So this is going to be a multi-medium piece. So I'm really super excited about that. That will have to be, and quite possibly, since it is a color pencil piece, a 2 to 3 parter. So hopefully I can get it done in 2 parts video. It may end up being a 3-part, but I know for sure with as much detail as in it, it won't be a 1 video thing. So yeah, super excited about that one too, because it incorporates water into it. So really cool. Now here I'm just kind of going around each of these little seeds with my water brush, or not my water brush, but my paintbrush. And by doing this, you're actually adding texture to the strawberry itself. So whenever you're going around the seed, I know it can feel very overwhelming when you're dealing with so many seeds, and then you just want to just go over the whole thing with a brush and just wipe over the seeds. But going individually around each and every seed makes more of a detailed circle, kind of like the indentions of a strawberry has where the seeds are. So there is a reason to the madness of going around each and every seed, is you make those watermarks, that circular watermark around where the seed is. Then once you get your second layer in, and you go ahead and darken everything up a little bit more where your shadows are, darken up where your lights are, making it more, putting more of the white pigment down, more of the pink around it, and you're brightening up that area. Then you can take your water brush, dip it in your water cup, dry it off so that's not a whole bunch of water, and just wipe over your seed once. And if you didn't get it and you still see some of the white of the paper, you can swipe over it one more time. You really don't want to go too many times, otherwise you're going to make mud, or you're going to wash away your seed, which would not be a good thing. You definitely do not want to wash away the seed on your strawberry. But if you go over it and swipe over it once, it also it brings out the color a little bit more, but it also tones it down to where it kind of blends in with that strawberry, while keeping the area around it in a circular shape, which gives it depth. So here I am darkening up some of the areas all over again and going in and around the seed. Some of the areas where I add some of the darker colors to it, like the shadow for the seed, I don't do it completely around the seed unless the reference photo, boy, words are hard. The reference photo actually shows the whole seed completed with a dark line around it. Then I'll go ahead and add it in there. If not, then I just go ahead and do which side would be highlighted with a shadow. Just remember, if you're working with these and you're working with these specific, I guess, watercolor pencils, the only reason I would say if you were to work with a different set of watercolor pencils, it would still work the same. The only difference is maybe if you see a difference in the pigment levels, that could just be because of the watercolor pencils themselves that you're using. They could be not as pigmented as these Aquarelle Museum ones by Caran D'Ache. These here are really, really pigmented. So if you're not seeing the exact same results, it may just be because of the type of watercolor pencil. Not saying that it's a bad one at all. You're just going to get more of that watercolory look where it's just more lightly toned. But other than that, you should keep the same process if you, I guess, that I do, and just see how it goes, how it turns out. But it's all up to you too. If you feel like you want to have more of these lighter watercolor look strawberries, you can do the same kind of thing with one layer instead of having to do multiple layers. So it all just depends on how you want your strawberry to look. In this case, I'm just showing you how I did these strawberries, and this is just how I wanted them to look like. So it all just depends on you. Either which way, my opinion, it's a strawberry, it's summertime, it can look however which way you want. It's still nice to see strawberries. It makes it fresh and refreshing. Now here I'm just kind of going over everything, darkening up some of the areas that need to be darkened. And I know that once I get through with this piece and I'm like, or at least through with this area, and I continue on working with some of the leaves, because I'll show you how I did the leaves on a strawberry. At least it'll be one of those smaller ones. The other one, I was trying to do the leaf on it and my video somehow shut off. So I went ahead and did another strawberry with a leaf, so that way you guys can see how I did the leaves. And yeah. But yeah, like I was saying too, I totally forgot my train of thought here. But once I got done with everything, I came back through, and on this strawberry, typically around the edge of it, it's like the top edge toward the leaf side of it, I kind of went back through with my reddish, it wasn't my reddish purple, but it's like my darker of the reds that I got. I actually have it listed on the still frames. But I went through with it and kind of darkened it up around the edge there. So I gave it a little bit more contrast to it, because a little bit more depth to where it wasn't like, I don't know, it just looked like it needed a little bit more shadowing on that side. So I did come back through and do that to it. It wasn't much. Now this being the biggest strawberry that I have on this piece, I think there's another one that's kind of similar to it, but it's not as big, not as big as it. But this is the biggest strawberry that I had. Definitely took a lot more time working on this strawberry compared to working on all the other ones. All the other ones were much, much smaller, so it was a little bit easier to be able to get those done compared to this gigantic strawberry here. But it made it more easier, I thought, for you guys to see how I did it. And my brush has very little water, so whenever I'm just kind of knocking out some of those pencil marks that you can see with your watercolor pencils and just kind of toning those down. Alright, now I'm going to be working on the stem for this, or at least the greens of the stem. The shadowy part is going to go on underneath of the stem, and then I'm using a light lime green, which is probably not the name for it, but it is kind of looks like a lime green for the highlight. Now here I used, to do my drawing, I went ahead and grabbed a water soluble graphite pencil, and I just used it to kind of do my drawing. So it was kind of a reddish color, and just I took my water brush and just kind of went over it, or not my water brush but my brush, and just kind of went over it and washed those outlines away. That way I don't have a lot of pigment there that would mix in with my green leaves completely. But there is some browns and stuff like that in the leaf on the reference photo, so even if a little bit of it got in there, it adds more color, and that's what we want anyway, so it doesn't have to be perfectly green. There is some little brown spots in the reference photo. Now the shadow underneath of the strawberry, of the leaf, I did use black to kind of outline the bottom of where a shadow would be. I didn't outline the whole entire leaf with black or anything like that. I used it just for a line underneath where the darkest point of the shadow would be, and then I would go underneath of it with that darker red to be able to create and cast a shadow from the leaf onto the strawberry. And there's my darker green that I kind of went over on each side to kind of give it some depth. And everything that I'm doing is with very, very light water. You want your brush to be dipped in water and then wiped almost completely dry, but not that much dry. You have to leave a little bit of water on there, but not enough to where if you put your brush down, it puddles or a drop comes off of it. That's too much water. So I've been doing very light on the water, so I'm making sure it's just a damp brush. I guess that would be better, would be a damp brush, not a really wet brush. Otherwise my color may go everywhere. Now here is a picture of my finished leaf, and then remember that once you put in the background, it will look so much better. And also, if you're new here, click the like and subscribe. Definitely clicking the like button will help me out greatly, and I appreciate all of you guys for being here. And now we're moving on to these strawberry step-by-step still frames. So yeah, click the like and subscribe if you want to see more, and you want to see the next one that we have coming up, which is a color pencil mixed media piece. All right, you guys, I'm going to leave you with this, and I'll see you all next Thursday. Bye.